What is up, you guys? Welcome to today's video. So for today's video, we're just going to be sitting and chatting for a little bit. I just wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind. So in terms of what we're talking about today, it is in fact going to be about leaks. Okay, so the topic for today, the topic of discussion is in fact leaks. So we're going to be talking about why we don't, cover them and why we're not going to be covering them in the future, unfortunately. So, in terms of leaks, the reason we're not going to really be covering them and the reason why we have kind of stopped is because at first we were, every once in a while, whenever, for example, drip marketing came out or beta access videos came out, I used to do a little bit of coverage for them. For example, I did it for Zeji and Zhangli Yao. But ever since then, I do know that Kuro, and not just Kuro, of course, this is just the companies in general, they have definitely been cracking down on people who are redistributing and covering this kind of footage. So just for, our own safety, that's kind of the reason why we've moved away from reacting to things that aren't, directly from either the YouTube from the company themselves. So for example, for Zenless Zone Zero, we usually react to things from the Zenless Zone Zero account. Same with the other games, we react to their trailers, once they release the character demos, all of that, that's where we get our reactions and our first impressions. But I do really like the idea of, reacting to things ahead of time, because that's the bad part about leaks, right? Is there's a fine line between what's good and what's bad. Obviously, it can be good to see a character's kit and what characters are coming out in the future. That way you can pre-plan. That's kind of what we do as well, is, pre-planning and pre-budgeting, because when you're playing a gacha game, you definitely do want to make sure. Let me move the mic a little bit closer. Sorry about that. But I'm sorry if you heard that too. My mic, it's on a little stand and it squeaks sometimes. Anyways, but so in terms of that, it's like you definitely do want to, actually know who you're going to want to pull for, because we have very limited pulls in these games. Is kind of a tricky thing to, handle, right? It's very tricky because we have very limited pulls and we got to make those pulls last. And if you want a unit, especially if you're free to play, you definitely have to budget out your pulls, because if you pull for one unit and the next thing you know, you get them and then you try to pull again and you lose 50-50, that's a whole nother basically 80 or 90 pulls you have to invest into the banner just to potentially have the chance to get that unit. Obviously, you can get them early if you're lucky. Sometimes that happens. That's happened to me sometimes. Doesn't always happen. So unfortunately, you can't always win every 50-50 and you can't always get every single character. So that ties back to the whole leaks. Leaks used to be helpful because it would be a great way for us to see what characters were coming out and know, okay, this unit is coming out. They look very, easy to skip. Like, I don't want them. So that banner, now I know I don't have to worry. But also there was times where it would be like, oh, this unit looks super OP. Like, this unit looks really fucking good. I want them. Now I know I have to skip these other banners. Like, for example, currently in Star Rail, I don't know if you guys pay attention to exactly this kind of content, but there's a lot of dreams that go around. So there's a lot of videos that are already out, and quite literally there's about like 2 or 3 units that are already out on display. Those two being Fugway and Sunday. I'm gonna talk about it, but I'm not gonna obviously react to it. So, but units like that, so that's kind of where it gets tricky, right? Is when things start getting leaked several units in advance and stuff like that. Yeah, it's beta footage, so for them they have the ability to share it, but a lot of times the companies themselves afterwards, they end up getting upset, because if it's like a closed beta and they're not supposed to share the footage, then it's like a lot of these units, for example, currently Fugwe is in the first stage of the testing process. So she may look very underperforming to some people, but that's just because they need to iron out the kits, And if we look back at a unit like Zhao Cho, when he first was leaked and his first like instance of his kit was shown, people were like, oh my god, he looks amazing. But the next thing you know, change after change after change happened and he got nerfed, because understandably so. Now that I have Zhao Cho, I know he's really overpowered in game and he does a shit ton of damage with his dot. Like, I've seen his dot. When I use my Zhao Cho, he's literally E0 S0. I don't have his light cone. I have a random ass light cone on him because it's like a 4-star one. But I'm broke, so yeah, that's why. But he does like 9,000 damage with his dot, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're doing battles, that's enough to like kill the smaller units like one shot sometimes. So that's just insane. Like when I see it, I'm like, damn, he does good damage, you know, for like a dot unit. But that's after the nerfs, you know. So that ties back to why we technically can't jump to leaks for, you know, a definitive answer. When it comes to leaks, you know, you have the early instance, then the second, third, whatever, all these reiterations of the same unit to fix their kit and make it balanced. So for me, the reason we're not going to be covering that is because there's too many factors that are constantly changing, and then on top of that, we don't want to end up on the negative side where we get striked or we get in trouble for, you know, covering any of that. So that's just where the worry comes from. I don't, you know, I would rather play it safe and avoid those kinds of leak content, because I also have seen creators, you know, go and they'll literally post someone and be like, oh, well, you're covering leaks and stuff like that. And I've seen it happen, and it's like a creator who has covered leaks in the past, and I'm like, dude, you literally started also covering leaks, and like I get it, you know, we shouldn't be covering it, but at the same time, going and hating on a smaller creator, putting them on blast, and literally like potentially getting them in trouble with the company, I don't know, to me, I wouldn't do that, right? But it's as easy as, you know, sending them a DM being like, hey, you should probably take this down because X company doesn't want us posting these kinds of leaks of the gameplay for the characters, you know. But, you know, that's just my opinion. But yeah, so that's why I'm not going to be covering leaks, just to play it safe. I don't want to, you know, get any trouble, step on any toes or anything. I'll just go ahead and react to things once they're actually confirmed, concrete, and actually coming out. That's when we'll go ahead and cover it. But as far as leaks go, that's kind of the reason why, unfortunately, I did stop having to do those videos. Although, like I said, I really did enjoy doing those for the time being at that time, especially for like when Zhang Liao came out. That's how I knew immediately, like, I need him and I needed his weapon, right? Was because of his drip marketing and all of that. But yeah, so I just wanted to do this video just to talk to you guys and tell you guys why we moved away from that kind of content, just to give you guys a little bit of an answer, you know? That way it's not anything that people might be confused about. So that's the reason. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think about that kind of stuff. There's also story leaks, but I hate story leaks and I avoid them like the plague. But that's another bad thing with leaks, is like they come in all shapes and sizes. You could be scrolling through Twitter, next thing you know, you see a massive story leak and you're like, what the fuck? And that's definitely the reason why a lot of these companies crack down, is because when people start leaking stuff like that, that's a big no-no. But yeah, that's all for today's video, guys. I just wanted to talk about why we don't cover that stuff. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Love you guys. Peace out.